We're muted. Thank you for jumping back in, everybody.
This whole time.
Yeah, the whole time we were muted. Part 2, we're back. We lost internet because the power went out. So when you lose power, you lose internet. I'm not sure what the shit is going on, but it's Sunday morning. These games are about to start. So let's just jump right back into it.
And for anyone who had been listening to us on Insta, because we did have people tuned in, I can't get it reconnected. I don't know what's going on there, but it's just not going for me.
Well, they won't be able to hear you say that they can't get connected because they're...
That's true. Picking right back where we left off, we were 45 seconds into that 2-minute drill.
Yeah, we were. Well, we're redoing it. We're gonna
just back it up.
Yeah,
started at the top for Panthers,
Jets. Panthers and Jets. Panthers are 1.5 point favorites, coming off that 30-27 last minute win over the Cowboys to advance to 3-3. Bryce Young threw for 199 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. We talked about Josiah's running back, Ricky Dowdle. He had a huge game against his former team, 30 carries for 183 yards, 4 catches for 56, and a receiving touchdown. And then the Jets. Are you okay over there?
I'm fine. Keep going.
Hunter pointing out it's because we're not drinking
whiskey. Is exactly why. Whiskey just makes the show run.
Should have just...
Our show runs on whiskey, and we have no whiskey today.
What a great slogan. Our show runs on whiskey. The Jets returned from London after a sloppy 13-11 game where Justin Fields only threw for 45 yards. Yards. He only ran for 31. I'm flustered. This whole text stuff.
You got to get over it. Let it go. Keep it moving, Justin.
That means that they only threw for 45 yards. That's ridiculous. Breece Hall had 22 carries for 59 yards, which is a 2.7 yard per carry. Not good. After Garrett Wilson's injury, Josh Reynolds led receivers with 3 catches for 25 yards. That's 25 of the 45. The Jets are without Garrett Wilson. The Panthers have been playing better. I think we got to roll with them to win. But I like Panthers money line plus Fields 50 plus rushing yards. That's plus 390. And then I like a little Fields rushing ladder. 50 yards is at plus 124. 60 is at plus 210. 70 is plus 320. 80 is plus 520. 90 is plus 750. And if he runs for over 100 yards, that's 11-1. Let's fucking go.
Nice. Looking at fantasy for you guys. I know we've mentioned Rico Dowdle a lot this episode, and it's time to throw him in your lineup and just leave him there. And I'm talking to the 24% of people on Sleeper that aren't currently starting him.
Who do you have if you're not starting him after?
I'd like to know.
Giant games he's had.
Yes, I would like to know. For an underperformer, I'm looking at Justin Fields. He's projected 20.44 against the Panthers. And yes, the Panthers have been allowing a lot of points to the quarterback position, but Fields is coming off of a game of throwing for only 45 yards and is now out his best receiver in Garrett Wilson. He'll run the ball, but I would sit him. I'm also cautious about Ted McMillan facing off against Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I like that. Real quick, while we kind of get ourselves situated back, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Underdog Fantasy?
Absolutely, because we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is a great place to play fantasy pick'em, where you can win up to 500 times your entry. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite player's stats. Available for a ton of sports. And Underdog has also got a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5 and you get $100 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code OFFSGPN.
And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm's crushing it in college football and NFL with picks and props. They're not crushing the pricks. Rhythm is also giving away weekly cash prizes just for tracking your bets in the app. Track 5 bets of the same type from any model you build, and you could win $1,000. Use promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off for your first month. Download Rhythm and use promo code SGPN25. All right, we're remediating this situation right now. Got a little whiskey. Going to put it in my coffee here. I got to run power tools later, so I better not do too much, huh?
What whiskey's in that decanter?
This is Evan Williams Bottle and Bond.
Oh, okay.
So
you're going with a go-to for you?
Yeah, a little go-to.
Have you ever had that in your coffee before? Do you have any coffee left, or were you pouring it into an empty mug?
It's in an empty mug. It's just whiskey. Coffee's
I knew it.
Gone.
I knew it.
But I'm sure it would have been fine in there anyways.
No, you're like, we got to get this show back on track.
Where's
the whiskey?
Where's the whiskey? We run on whiskey. You're absolutely right. So here we go.
Yeah, it's definitely felt like amateur hour over here.
Right? All right, let's talk about the afternoon games.
We've got the red hot Colts, who are the 1.5 point road dogs, as they face the Chargers in LA. What? Why are you looking at me like
Just
that?
the road dogs. I'm still thinking of your bark.
Woof.
I woof. I woof.
All right. Anyway, the Colts are coming off of a close 31-27 win over the Cardinals, where Dan Jones threw for 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. His top targets were Tyler Warren, who had 6 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown, and Josh Downs, who had 6 for 42 and a touchdown. You also had Jonathan Taylor, who continued his strong year with 123 yards and a touchdown. The Chargers are also coming off of a close win, 29-27 over the Dolphins. Herbert threw for 264 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kamani Vidal led the backfield with 18 carries for 100. Why? Stop. With 124 yards.
Oh, Kamani Vidal, who you said would not have more carries than
I don't
Hassan
need to. I
Haskins.
knew you were gonna. Can you just back off? Hassan Haskins had 6 for 14. I understand. Oh, well, I understand our argument, and I understand that it didn't pan out the way I hoped.
Yeah, well,
so
you convinced
anyway,
me to change my fab.
stop.
Anyways, go on. Sorry.
With Quentin Johnston, lad, with no Quentin Johnston, I should say, Lad McConkey got back to production that felt like last year, kind of, with his 7 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, as Hunter says, the Colts versus the Bolts. Give me the Colts if you want a fun little dog parlay. Woofing. Dolphins, Colts parlay pays plus 397, so almost 4-1. And then updated numbers: Pittman 81.3 points, CD 38.2. Maybe CD can close the gap now that he's back. Hunter, I appreciate you keeping track of that for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Looking at fantasy, it feels like Lad McConkey and Herbert have gotten back on the same page. He is projected 11.69 points, but I think you can trust him to exceed that, especially if Quentin Johnston misses another game. Michael Pittman only scored 3 fantasy points last weekend, and I think he's going to struggle against this Chargers defense as well. If you have another option, it may be a good idea to bench him this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Our next game is the Giants at the Broncos, where the Broncos are 7-point favorites. Giants coming off that big win against the Eagles, and now they hit the road, take on another tough team. Jackson Dart only needed to throw for 195 yards and a touchdown against those Eagles. He also had 58 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. And we wondered what the backfield would look like with Tyrone Tracy back, and maybe they're just easing him in. However, he only had 4 carries. Singletary had 3. It was Cam Scattaboo, who had 19 carries for 98 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then with no Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson had 6 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. Broncos, we already talked about how they had that sloppy London win, 13-11 over the Jets in London. Nick threw for 174 yards and a touchdown. Dobbins ran for just 40 on 14 carries. Evan Ingram coming back finally. He's finally looking like how we thought he might in this Broncos offense. He led the receiving game with 5 catches for 42 yards. Both teams ran 57 plays. The Broncos had 246 yards in those 57 plays. The Jets had 82. So not great. Little fun running back parlay for this game: Scattaboo over 2.5 catches, RJ Harvey over 2.5 catches, and Dobbins 60+ rushing yards. That's almost 6-1. I love that bet.
Nice.
Nice.
I knew you were going to do that. Just calm down over there. Looking at fantasy, the Giants have been allowing a decent amount of fantasy points to running backs, and J.K. Dobbins has been getting a decent share of the run game. He's being started in 76% of leagues, but I think that should be closer to 100% as he is going to overperform his 11.59 projection. Bo Nix will overperform as well. For an underperformer, I know we love Cam Scattaboo here, but against bad run defenses, he's scored 12.9, 21.1, and 30. Against good run defenses, it's been 12 and 11.4. Denver's the best they've faced yet. He's projected 13.77, and you probably have to start him if you have him, but I would just be prepared for that disappointment.
Life's full of disappointments.
It absolutely is. Next up, we've got the Commanders, who are the 1.5 point road favorites against the Cowboys after coming off of the 25-24 loss to our Bears. Jaden Daniels looked good throwing for 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick, and he also ran for 52 yards. We had Bill Krosky-Merritt, who had 17 carries for 61 yards. Without Terry McLaurin, the receiving room was very spread out, with Chris Moore having 3 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown, Ertz with 6 for 43 and a touchdown. The other touchdown was to Luke McCaffrey, who had 1 catch for 33 yards. Then when you're looking at the Cowboys, they're coming off of a 30-27 loss to the Panthers, which puts them at 2-3 on the season. Dak Prescott had 261 yards for 3 touchdowns. Javonte Williams ran 13 times for only 29 yards. And that was like a 2.2 average.
Yeah. Killed me in fantasy.
Yep, absolutely. And then George Pickens had 9 catches for 168 yards and a touchdown. He was targeted 11 times. The next closest was Javonte Williams, who was targeted 8 times, but only finished with 5 catches for 5 yards.
That's an odd stat. 5 catches, 5 yards.
Yep.
Just for Moneyline Mac, best bet, give me the Commanders -1.5. But, let's get a little wild with us. SGPA, same game parlay. Jaden Daniels, over 45.5 rushing yards and an anytime touchdown. And Javonte Williams, over 64.5 rushing yards and an anytime touchdown. That's almost 11-1. I also like Chris Moore, anytime touchdown at +280.
All right. Looking at fantasy, Javonte Williams he's an obvious one, especially after the Bears just carved up the Commanders on the ground. But for an overperformer, let's go with Luke McCaffrey against this Dallas defense. He's been getting more involved even before McLaurin was out, and has overperformed his projection every game since week 1.
Whew.
I know. For an underperformer, I don't really have one in this matchup, because there should be a lot of points and fantasy action. However, Pickens may not have the same blow-up games he's been having if CD is back, so be sure you keep an eye on that, though you're likely still starting him.
Yeah, you probably have to. I agree with that. Next game, we got the Patriots 6.5-point favorites at Tennessee. Patriots coming off that 25-19 win over the Saints and now lead the AFC East. I bet Cody is pumped. Drake May had a great game, throwing for 261 yards and 3 touchdowns. The run game couldn't get going, though, with Henderson having 9 carries for 27 yards. May had 9 for 28. And Ramondre Stevenson had 13 carries for just 18 yards. Drake May's favorite receiver was Keyshawn Boutte, who had 5 catches for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, the Titans fire their head coach after their 20-10 loss against the Raiders. They're like, you can't even beat the Raiders? Get out of here. Cam Ward had 222 passing yards and a touchdown and an interception. Tony Pollard carried the ball 10 times for 34 yards, and Tajay Spears getting work back in after starting that season on the PUP list. He had 5 carries for 31 yards. Nobody really stood out in the passing game here. I mean, Van Jefferson had 4 for 75. Chikakonkwo had 6 for 46. And Elick Ayomanor had 3 for 27. So no Calvin Ridley, no leader really stepping up. Teams usually, for a best bet, teams usually get a 1-game bump after firing a head coach. They don't know how the next coach is going to look. But this is a Vrabel revenge game versus the team that fired him. He coached for Tennessee for a long time. It's a gross game to pick, but I'm going to go with Cody's Patriots -6.5.
This is gross, but I'm taking it.
Yep, it is.
All right. Looking at fantasy, for your overperformer, Keyshawn Boutte he's been inconsistent this year. However, I think he'll be able to build on his 23.8 points last week against the Saints and take advantage of this Titans defense. He's projected 7.15, and I'm seeing him getting in the end zone at least once. For an underperformer, I'm looking at Tony Pollard, who's projected 9.02 points against a good Patriots defense. He's only hit this number in about half of his games. So if you have another option with upside, I would definitely be benching Pollard this week.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we've got the Packers, who are a 6.5-point favorite in Arizona after coming off of a 27-18 win, where we warned you that they wouldn't cover the 14.5-point spread against the Bengals.
We did do that.
Jordan Love had 259 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Josh Jacobs had a big game, carrying the ball 18 times for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. Romeo Doubs led the team in targets with 9, catching 5 of them for 55 yards. And then Tucker Kraft had the lone receiving touchdown, but only 2 catches for 43 yards. The Cardinals are coming off of that close 31-27 loss against the Colts without Kyler Murray. Jacoby, I will say Brissett this time, not Brisket. threw for, I'm still going to call him brisket.
The
Let's just be
brisket, why
honest.
not?
Yeah. He threw for 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also had a pick. The running back room was confusing as Bam Knight had 11 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown. Michael Carter had 9 carries for 34 yards. And Amari DeMarcado had just 1 carry for 1 yard.
And he's out this
Yes,
week.
he is out. Trey McBride led the team in receptions with 8. He had 72 yards and a touchdown. Zay Jones was also involved, having 5 catches for 79 yards.
Yeah, this one I hate to say it, but Cardinals are a mess. Give me the Packers -6.5, and I like the over in this game.
All right, I'll take it. I'm looking at Matthew Golden for a possible overperformer. He's projected 6.96 fantasy points and being started in 70% of leagues. He's gone over this in the last 3 games, and I feel like we're starting to see him find his rhythm.
Yeah.
I see him as like I said, another overperforming that again this week. For an underperformer, I'm looking at the Cardinals offense. I just don't see anybody jumping off the page. And I think it's
the whole
offense. I knew you were going to make a comment about me. I think it's going to be a tough game for them, and I don't see them. I just don't see it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm on the Packers on this one. Good news for you. Devonta Adams just got his 3rd touchdown.
Yes, maybe I will be spared.
Maybe you will be spared from the executioner. The Rams now have if they make this extra point, 35-7 lead.
I'm now 12. Somehow with his touchdown, I'm 12 out of 12.
Worse.
I got worse. What is happening?
I don't know.
I'm not getting chopped. We're just not putting that out there.
Nah, it'll be somebody else. Let's talk about the Sunday night football game where the Falcons go to San Francisco. 49ers were favorites. Now all of a sudden it's flipped and the Falcons are favorites, -1.5 point favorites, coming off that impressive 24-14 win over the Bills, where Michael Penix had 250 yards and a touchdown. But the star was Bijan Robinson, who had 19 carries for 170 yards and a touchdown. He also had 6 catches for 68 yards. He saved me in the chopper last week because I was at the bottom, and then he had a huge carry and I popped up to second to last. Drake London, also a stud, 10 catches, 158 yards and a touchdown. The 49ers coming off that 30-19 loss to the Bucks. No Brock Purdy, no Ricky Pearsall. They're not going to have them again. Mac Jones did have 347 passing yards, but no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. McCaffrey ran the ball 17 times for 54 yards and a touchdown. He's not having blow-up games in the running game. He's been able to catch the ball, obviously, but not big games. But a big game, Kendrick Bourne. He had a big one, 5 catches for 142 yards. If the Falcons, for the best bet, if they can run the ball like they did against the Bills and slow CMC, who's been a little slow anyways, I think they win this game. In fact, you can put them with my other money line dogs as well. Colts, Dolphins, Falcons, parlayed together. That's 848. So yeah, that's a good one. We probably, since it's the Sunday night game, we might throw out some more stuff as well.
Yeah. Looking at fantasy, you're obviously starting guys like Bijan and Drake London, but I'm also throwing out, and Justin, I just kind of want to just barf saying this. Just calm down. I don't want to hear any remarks from you.
Are you going with the passion?
There's no passion here. It's actually just disgust. But I'm going to throw out Kyle Pitts. I just can't believe
Not
myself.
even you can avoid the Pitts.
He's only projected 6.29 points, Justin.
Oh, yeah. He's going to get twice.
I think he has a similar stat line like he did against Washington, where he had 5 catches. He had 70 yards with that and a touchdown. Maybe he doesn't get the touchdown, but I think he's going to go over his projection. So I'm throwing that out there if you need help at the tight end position. For an underperformer, I understand you're not going to sit him, but Christian McCaffrey is projected 20.6 points, and he goes against the number 1 defense against the run. He's going to get the receiving work or get some receiving work, but I think he falls under 20 points. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't think you can bank on that. I think he's going to get work. He's going to get points. He's going to put up points for you, but I don't think it's going to be a huge game.
And you, like you said, you got to start him.
You do. You don't sit him.
Chat calling you out as being a Pitts believer.
Absolutely not. I will boot you from this chat.
Falcons gonna Falcons, 49ers for me, says Nick Fortune. They did not Falcon against the Bills, but it is a big win they're coming off of, so it'll be interesting.
Can you really call me a Pitts believer if I believe that he can get more than 6 fantasy points? It's still just 6 fantasy points.
Hunter also might get his second win in the listener league thanks to Matt Stafford, who's having a good game
He
overseas
is having a
there.
good game.
Let's move on
Oh,
to...
we're talking about Kittle over there too.
Yeah, Kittle is back.
Mhm.
We'll see how he's moving on the field. And
I left him on my bench.
I did too.
I have Goddard though. So
And I have Sam Laporta.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, Sam Laporta, he's playing on Monday Night Football when there's 2 Monday Night Football games again. But I like that they're doing a 6 p.m. and a 9 p.m.
Mhm.
No overlap shit. I don't like when they overlap.
No, then you can't have a whole night of football. You limited me to picking a game, and well, you just bring out the other TV,
we just
but
watch
still,
both. But still, yeah.
we just move our TVs around in our house, and we watch both of them.
Right.
But it's not. Yeah,
It's not
you
the
want a
same.
full night of football? Just give us that.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
we will Monday night.
Yes. Okay. For Monday Night Football, the Lions are the 4.5-point favorites at home against the Bucks. Baker continues to show why he's a dog, and I think he should be the current MVP favorite, even though it's actually Patrick Mahomes on most books. Let's
come on.
Just get that.
Come on.
Let's remove that. But anyway, they won 30-19, advancing to 5-1. Baker had 256 yards on 2 touchdowns. Rachaad White continued to fill in for Bucky Irving and had 17 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. With Emeka Egbuka getting hurt, Baker was working with his 4th, 5th, and 6th string wide receivers.
Yeah, no Evans, no Godwin, no Egbuka.
So you had Cameron Johnson, who stepped up with 4 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. Then looking at the Lions, they lost to the Chiefs 30-17 and fell to 4-2. Goff threw for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Gibbs had 17 carries for 65 yards, and they only ran Monty 4 times for 24 yards. We had Jamison Williams, who had 6 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. Laporta with 5 for 55 and a touchdown. And then Amon-Ra finished with 9 catches for 45 yards.
That's funny. 6 for 66 and 5 for 55.
I know.
I'll have a SGP out, our same game parlay out on our Twitter later, but my favorite play is over 52.5 points. I think there'll be a good amount of points in this one.
Alrighty.
I do think the Lions win, though, unfortunately. But
looking at fantasy, I'm starting all my Lions players after their loss to the Chiefs. I think this is going to be a bounce back game as much as you love Baker and the boys.
I do. He barks. He does not go woof.
Woof.
Yeah, he barks.
For an underperformer, there's not a lot of value for underperformer here, but Rachaad White may have a tough game against this tough Lions defense, and I'd be cautious of his projected 15 points, despite the fact that he's gone over this the last 2 games. It's been against much easier defenses.
Yeah.
He's had way better matchups than he has this week.
For sure. Indicator that Josh Jacobs may be out. I saw that Cody Zeeb of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast just added running back Emmanuel Wilson of the Green Bay Packers. So I haven't seen the news hit, but maybe Josh Jacobs sits out. Last game, 9 p.m., Texans at Seahawks. Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites. Texans coming off that bye. The Seahawks coming off a 20-12 win against the Jaguars. Jags about to drop their second in a row. Sam Darnold continued his strong year. He had 295 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker ran the ball 10 times for 34 yards. And Zach Charbonnet had 12 carries for 24 yards. Another reason that your Uncle Paul should not have traded for Kenneth Walker. Jackson Smith and Jigba led the team in receiving with 8 catches for 172 yards and a touchdown.
I got to circle back really quick. I have a feeling that we do in our family league, I make a Weasel trophy.
Yeah.
Every year so far. And I'm feeling like I'm going to have to make 4 this year. 4 Weasels.
For the Hoys?
The entire Hoy family is getting a Weasel trophy probably.
So we kind of had a conversation about this because there's really no punishment besides a Weasel trophy.
Which I think Caleb, he got the Weasel trophy and he displays it proudly.
I know.
You're proud of being a Weasel in your fantasy league?
I think next year we don't randomize it on the app. We draw names out of a hat for draft order, but it's
the Weasel gets whatever pick nobody else took.
Yeah, so
there is punishment. So maybe you guys can stop being weasels.
Right. So if you're the first pick, out of the hat, that doesn't mean you take first unless you want it. Then I ask, okay, you're the first one. What position do you want?
Not me.
And so the Weasel's got to have the last one. Anyways,
it just seems like there's definite collusion in that family. collusion with the trades that went through.
Yeah. Josiah's saying, not me.
You got some good players out of your mother, and I'm not thrilled
he's
about it.
He's not a weasel. He's a businessman. He
A
says.
businessman
Caleb
who
definitely is a
weasels
weasel.
people out of good things.
Yeah, businessmen are weasels oftentimes. Anyways, I was talking about JSN before we started talking
before
about
I
the weasels.
rudely interrupted you.
Yeah, he was targeted 13 times. Next closest, Cooper Kupp and AJ Barner, only 3. So obviously it was just let's start at JSN. This is a tough one to call because the Texans coming off that bye should be better. They still have offensive line issues though. So I'm going to do a fun little way to bet this one. Texans plus 3.5. Parlayed with Seahawks money line. Seahawks win by 3. That's almost 6-1. It's a fun way to bet it.
All right.
You're just hoping for a close game and the Seahawks to win.
Okay, looking at fantasy for an overperformer, Xavier Hutchinson. That guy. That's the one. He was getting more and more work before the bye week, and I think he gets even more after it. He's only projected 2.97, but in deeper leagues, I think that you should consider throwing him in or Jaden Higgins in your flex. For an underperformer, you're obviously going to start JSN and you may even start Cooper Kupp, but this Texans defense is very good against receivers. So I would temper my expectations. I put Cooper obviously in my flex. He's Monday night game, but I think I'm swapping him out. I'm nervous about it. I don't have a good, I don't know.
Yeah. You don't know.
Thinking of sitting him, which feels weird to me.
Fair enough. Josiah says, don't be mad at him. He had a mediator, which was Paul. So just
even more weaseling happening.
Yeah. Just for some additional bets. Obviously, we still need to get our $60 bottle that we cashed out on, but we're keeping this going. So bottle lock bets. I got a 6-point teaser. Eagles, Bears, Panthers, Broncos, Packers. $10 pays you $50. And then Drake London over 5.5 receptions. $10 pays you $17. Our current bottle value is obviously that Evan Williams bottle and bond, $20, but we're going to build it for a better bottle. Get those placed now. Games are starting in 17 minutes. And then real quick, just, we already talked about kind of our listener league. Yep. It's brought to you this year again by Keeper's Heart Whiskey. First of its kind blend that brings together Irish and American whiskeys, creating smooth, rich flavor that's perfect for game day, whether you're celebrating a win, processing a tough loss, or relaxing with friends. Keeper's Heart Whiskey is a tradition that you have to just add into your NFL day. Find it at your local liquor store at keepersheartwhiskey.com. Don't forget to sip responsibly. And Miranda, quick update on the league. But first, I want to update on my team.
Of course you do.
I've dropped 4 games in a row. What a loser. Jesus.
Okay, that's not what I was expecting you to say, but
after starting 2-0, I was excited, and now I've dropped 4 in a row.
What a loser.
Yeah. But congrats to Sebastian, DJ Doc, Rod Villagomez of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, Fortune, Serial, Alex, and Channing for their wins last weekend. Now, Distiller Kate still has the lead. She's going to win her own whiskey. She's 4-2 and has the most points scored. However, Sebastian, Rod, and Fortune are also 4-2 as well. Cody and Channing at 3-3 have the current last spots in the playoffs. If the season ended today, it doesn't. And then Mir, you with Alex and Pinky are at 3-3, just outside the playoffs.
It changes this week.
Yeah,
it changes.
It changes, and then it's me, Serial, and Hunter bringing up the rear. But that's always going to change. It's going to change. So, the games are about to start.
They are. I know you're like itching. Like I can just feel you're like, oh, we're getting close to this game.
And we lost internet, so it's going to create a little bit more work for me to patch this together. So I'm going to be patching it together while we're watching. Some football. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we get out of here?
No, it's been good.
Yeah, good luck on your bets. Good luck on your fantasy football matchups. We will be back next Wednesday to our regular scheduled programming. My coffee and my whiskey are both gone. Going once, going twice.
Sold.